If you don't want to know how One Piece ends, then you probably don't want to watch this video, because Eiichiro Oda has already spoiled the fates of each of the Straw Hats. So there's your warning, but if you would like to know what the end of One Piece looks like, then strap yourselves in for the wildest 10 minutes of your life. Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. My name is Liam, and yes, there was a That's What She Said joke available in the opening, well, with all of the strapping and the wild and the 10 minutes, but I decided not to go there. Where I want to go, however, is to the very end of the series and even beyond. We are going to be looking a whopping 40 years into the future of fictional pirates, as Eiichiro Oda has slowly been unveiling the final destinations of each of our Straw Hats in the SBS segments of manga volumes. And I should say that, for copyright reasons, a lot of the images you see of our future Straw Hats were done by one of our amazing channel artists. And 3 lucky subscribers from this video are going to win a custom artwork requesting whatever they'd like. For example, one winner requested Nefertari Vivi, who had eaten a Kuru no Mi, and as cursed as this image ended up being, that is exactly what they got. To win, simply be subscribed to the channel and leave a 1-sentence comment with your art request. And yes, you do need to be subscribed because YouTube shows me this like funky little red dot next to your name, so there is no fooling me. You'll also receive a high quality digital copy of your request, as well as have it featured in future videos, becoming part of Grand Line Review history. Also, this video is sponsored by Private Internet Access VPN, the world's most transparent VPN provider with 100% open source software and 30 million users worldwide. Because you know what? It's not fair that Netflix hides thousands of shows and movies from your ever so curious eyes based on location alone. But with Private Internet Access, I can watch all sorts of fun things available only on Netflix Japan and thousands of other movies and series from across the entire globe thing, such as Spy Family, which is available on Netflix Japan, but not on the Netflix for wherever I am. But what is a VPN? Well, that's a good question, me. A VPN changes your IP address and reroutes your internet traffic through an encrypted tunnel. Private Internet Access hides your online activity from your internet service provider, network administrator, and of course, government censors. And signing up for Private Internet Access is risk-free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, plus a highly skilled customer support team available for your inquiries 24/7. And by using the link in the description, you can grab an 82% discount on Private Internet Access for 2 years, and also get 3 extra months completely for free. So do that thing, and for now, it's back to fictional pirates. Now, let's look into the future. And we're going to begin with quite a sad reality, because apparently 20 years from now, the Straw Hats have unfortunately disbanded. And we know this courtesy of Oda's depiction of Usopp, because alongside his fun little sketches, he also gives a quote from each Straw Hat at the various stages of their lives, and at age 40, Usopp is saying, "The pirate flag is calling out to me," meaning that in his 40s, Usopp is no longer a pirate. There's no real indication of exactly where he ended up, but I would say that Syrup Village is a fairly safe bet, considering that's where his girl woman is. And in addition to becoming built like a red line shithouse, Usopp's eyes have notably changed, no longer being saddled with the glare of fear and confusion, nor the shame of having just crapped your pants. No, this Usopp is undoubtedly a brave warrior of the sea. Meanwhile, at age 60, Usopp primarily gains more wrinkles. However, his quote this time is kind of bittersweet, because he's saying, "I'm really starting to miss those guys." So not only did the Straw Hats disband, but it looks like they don't really keep in touch. Or alternatively, everyone else keeps in touch, but for some reason, they just don't talk to Usopp. Perhaps he committed some sort of inter-crew faux pas. But really, all we know is that by age 60, Usopp has adorned himself with a full sleeve tattoo, and even though this isn't in the rendering my artist did, Oda's original drawing also featured age 60 Usopp with a scar down his forehead, meaning that at some point between age 40 and age 60, Usopp got into some pretty serious fight battling. But as for not having seen the Straw Hats in decades, well, that's quite foreboding really, because that has me thinking, is everyone still even alive 40 years into the future? Well, thankfully, we know that Frankie is alive and well, and Oda gives us a glimpse of him at age 50 stating, "It's getting chilly, isn't it? Brr. Let me turn on the island's heating." Which sounds a bit mundane, but it gives away the entire Frankie future. From what he's saying, we know that Frankie retired to Karakuri Island, which is Vegapunk's home, and it's also where Frankie spent the 2-year time skip. On Karakuri Island, Vegapunk started a project to basically build a big F-off heater to keep everyone warm, but for reasons, this heater was never completed. But thanks to Frankie, it's getting hot in here, and so he's taken off most of his clothes as well, because some things never change. So much so that 20 years later, at age 70, Frankie is still rocking some kind of, maybe Speedo, is it? honestly, this one looks a lot more like something you would see on sale at, say, your local King store. But hey, maybe that's just the popular style of the future. Who are we to judge? And even in his elder cyborgian years, Frankie is still making himself useful, as he says, "I fixed your bike, but I put a cannon on it." And he's also grown out this solid grandpa beard. Although it does make me wonder if he can change beard styles with the press of a nose, in much the same way that he can with his hair. Very interestingly, both 50s and 70s Frankie maintain the classic Frankie hair. And as he gets older, he actually starts building his body smaller and smaller, basically ending up around the same size that we first encountered him, very much reclaiming his humanity, which is in stark contrast to the dark timeline age 70 Frankie, who became a talking mechanized boat. So what we know so far is that the Straw Hats break up and retire to the various locations that attracted them most. But as for a very different attraction, we have Nami. At age 40, things have gone interestingly, I would say, because our newly minted MILF is stating, "Come back again once you're an adult." Which, well, I don't quite know how to take that, and I assume nor does the child that she's clearly flirting with. Really, there's not a whole lot more to say about Nami, so we are going to skip ahead another 20 years to find our 60-year-old Nami still looking shockingly eternally youthful, but with a funky new haircut, which is very reminiscent of Shaki, actually. And her quote here is, well, it's less than helpful because she states, "Me? Oh, I've left my 40s a long while ago." So Nami's future seems very age-focused and rather mysterious. We don't know a whole lot about what becomes of her, where does Nami retire, what does she even choose to do now, and most importantly, did she ever achieve her dream of mapping the world? Well, in Nami's case, I can't tell you. However, there are a couple of Straw Hats that did definitely achieve their dreams. Most notably Sanji, who at age 40 has adopted a rather Fabio-style aesthetic. And he may even have similar success with women because his quote is, "I'm not picky when it comes to women or food," which is probably a bit of a scuffed translation. The idea is basically that no food will go to waste and no lady will go unflirted with. Flirted. Okay, well. However, Sanji doesn't truly appreciate until his elder years, because by age 60, he has gone full Zeph. Sanji now appears to be an established chef, potentially even inheriting Baratier, and quite notably, by this age, he has also stopped smoking, which I think is a very sweet touch because Zeph always encouraged Sanji not to smoke out of fear for his taste buds. So good on you, Mr. Cookman. It took a while, but you did it. I do have to bring this up though, because there is a very strong contrast between good timeline Sanji and dark universe Sanji. If all goes well, Sanji goes on to become his chosen father Zeph, and if things go badly, then he becomes his biological father Judge. But most importantly, at age 60, Sanji says something very enlightening. "I'm going to fish in the All Blue." So he did it. He actually did it. Sanji found the All Blue, and now he's just spending the rest of his life taking casual weekend trips there for ingredients. Sanji gets a 100% happy ending. I mean, maybe not in the fun, sexy way that he would have wanted, but more in the lifelong fulfilling kind of way, which I am told is better. And Chopper achieves a similar state of being, as by the time he reaches age 40, he has filled out to perfection. It reminds me a lot of my dog as a puppy when his head grew faster than the rest of his body, but eventually everything filled out. That is adult Chopper. And very simply, our big boy doctor is stating, "Leave it to me," showing that he has become ridiculously reliable. But even then, that's nothing compared to age 60 Chopper, who has developed some sort of super drug which he is claiming can cure anything, even idiocy. So just like Sanji, it looks as if Chopper has achieved his dream of curing all of the disease, even idiocy, which sadly we still don't have a cure for in reality. 60-year-old Chopper also gives me some very strong Dr. Hero look vibes. He has that crazy quack smile going on, and he's even wearing a very similar dark coat to Hero look. And I imagine that after having done the impossible of curing all disease, Chopper spends the rest of his days wandering around curing people's hearts, which is all very nyaw. Now as for the Straw Hats who are still active in their endeavors, we now switch to Robin, who at age 40 appears to have endured a similar curse of eternal youth to Nami, although she certainly feels a bit more mature at heart, as she's saying, "Must be nice being young." However, age 60 Robin, that is where it's at. Because this Robin has gone full on Indiana Jones and is inviting someone on an archaeological quest, which I really like because it's good to know that after discovering all of the Void Century stuff, Robin is still on the hunt for more world secrets. Along the same line, Zoro, even after having become the world's greatest swordsman, continues to hone his skill throughout the rest of his life. At age 40, he claims to be practicing four-sword style, which one of my artists very cheekily did a picture of me practicing my own version of four-sword style, which, not quite as impressive as Zoro, but still, look at that muscle. But at age 60, Zoro has even evolved into what he claims is five-sword style. And there's something so beautiful and simplistic about that, because Zoro's entire life can basically be boiled down to one word, and that word is sword. So after he's taken three-sword style as far as that can go, then yeah, why not add a fourth, and then a fifth, maybe even a sixth, and just, I guess, keep keep going until you die. But then, of course, we have the even simpler Luffy. Our captain and now assumingly reigning pirate king, at age 40 is only uttering a single word, that word being meat. And Luffy has basically taken his role model and just flat out stolen his body because this is Shanks 2.0, right down to the matching dark cloak. Because in this world, dark cloaks equal maturity. Meanwhile, at age 60, Luffy has grown very wide and quite garpsome, because at this time Luffy has abandoned his stolen Shanks body and has taken up residence in his grandfather's visage because this is just garp. And you'll never guess what he's saying. He's saying meat. Except much more excitedly. It's more like meat. I should also note that even though my artist drew age 40 Luffy holding the straw hat, neither of Oda's original drawings show the straw hat, implying that by 40 years old, Luffy has either returned it to Shanks or potentially even passed it on to the next generation. So this isn't Straw Hat Luffy. This is Pirate King Luffy. But that's not quite it, because Oda has also showcased two other gents in their elder years, one of which being Sabo, who I guess is still wearing the same clothes as he was 20 years earlier. Even more, actually. Because does anyone else find it weird that Sabo wears the exact same clothes as an adult that he did as a child? And you know, the only other person I can think of who does that is Senor Pink, because he dresses like a baby. Wow, wow. But at least Senor Pink has an excuse, whereas Sabo, something's not quite right with that boy, now man, and now even older man. Although by age 60, Sabo has finally discovered that other clothing options are available, and he now looks quite modern and, dare I say, suave. And his quote is simply fascinating because he says, "Have I heard about the Straw Hat incident? Tell me." Which is implying that Luffy is still somehow causing trouble in the world well into his 60s. But here is the scary part. Oda doesn't really leave his own commentary on many of these images, except for Sabo. Because when presenting these drawings, Oda left a little bit of a disclaimer. "I drew this, but I honestly wouldn't be able to say if this is how he'll end up in the future." A statement which strikes fear into the hearts of all Saboians. So, Sabo dead, confirmed? I mean, obviously not, but it's a weird thing for Oda to say. It's very foreboding and worrying. And why did you do it? I don't even really like Sabo, and I think it's foreboding. But very touchingly, Oda also provided images of what Ace would have looked like if he'd made it to age 40 and 60, with a middle-aged Ace clad in the dark cloak of maturity. Because it's starting to become clear that in One Piece, you only really grow up when you get that dark cloak. So I imagine that age 40 Liam is going to need one as well. But at this point in his life, Ace appears to be meeting up with Luffy, and he's saying, "Yo, Luffy, still the same as always." Meanwhile, our old man that never was at age 60 simply claims to be retired and is enjoying his quiet life, likely on Dawn Island, and also looking shockingly like some sort of grey-haired Shanks. But of course, that was never meant to be. But at the very least, we do have this image of an ideal universe where all three brothers got to grow up and achieve their dreams together. That ideal universe is, well, it's not the one we're in, but at least it's better than the dark universe where everything went so horribly, horribly wrong. And if you'd like to see that universe, then do check out this video. It is crazy what happens in that timeline, so I look forward to seeing you there. And thanks again to Private Internet Access for sponsoring this video, where you can get 82% off for 2 years and a bonus 3 months for free.